Hola y bienvenidos. Welcome to Mole Mama Cooking with Love. We drive connection, unity, acceptance, and love across all cultures and generations. I'm going to be very clear that all are welcome here, and we are delighted and grateful to have you listening. You're about to embark on our weekly adventure where we chat with entrepreneurs, chefs, foodies, artists, and nutritionists who are helping us to connect and learn. We'd love for you to visit our YouTube channel where you can learn to make delicious guacamole, chimichangas, molcajetes de queso y chorizo fundido, crunchy tacos, enchiladas, flour tortillas, and so much more. Please private message us if you need any help, as we'd love to help you make these recipes successful. And please subscribe to our podcast and leave us a review. We'd love to hear from you. And from Mother Teresa, spread love everywhere you go, and let no one ever come to you without leaving happier. So that is the goal of every one of our shows. And given who our guest is, I think you're going to be inspired to cook international, amazing, yummy dishes. So let me tell you about our special guest tonight. I am so excited. We have Anuja Kohli Mariwala, who is also known as the Pepper Cook. And she is with us from Mumbai, India. So I am so excited because we are doing a transcontinental international podcast radio show. Yay. And Anuja is somebody that I found on Instagram and started following her more than a year ago. And her photos, so right now, go to Instagram, start following her, or go to her website, which is thepeppercook.com, and check out her photos of her amazing food. You're going to be so hungry. So let me tell you a little bit about her, and she'll be with us in a moment. She is an engineer, home cook, Pilates instructor, education consultant, and mother of 4. She believes food creates incredible memories and brings people together. When her children are far away, she hopes the flavors of her home linger in their minds. She was born in New Delhi, India, but was quickly whisked off by her parents to grow up in Manila, the Philippine Islands. Her love of Asian food and flavorful memories were created through the smoky aroma of pork barbecue, Java rice, and hot pandesal with sweet melting butter in her school canteen. Moving to the U.S., Cambridge, Massachusetts, to study engineering at MIT was really what spurred her desire to cook. Armed with new pots, Pierre Franny's cookbook, and a recipe card each week from her mom in Manila, she forayed into the world of researching and developing culinary masterpieces. She met her husband AJ at MIT's business school and found herself married and in Mumbai, starting life with a new last name that meant Pepperman. Ajay's grandfather had been a leader in exporting pepper from India to the world. So the junior kingpin of the pepper world and Anuja moved to Kerala, God's own country of spices, so he could grow what soon became a dominating food ingredients business. Working with seasonings for snack food and fast food companies gave her an opportunity to play with food and flavors in fun ways. In a pizza, on a pizza, and in burgers. She created a spice brand called Bombay Tiffin, a fun and innovative brand of spices and seasonings from across the world. The unique cuisines of Kerala also created imprints in her brain, later inspiring her to infuse the ingredients and fragrances of fresh coconut, fried banana fritters, and masala grilled prawns. She developed an interest in taste and ingredients of regions and how they evolve gradually as we move across the world. She believes in authentic, flavorful profiles, simplified to make recipes easier to experiment with. She also wants to bring more of the rich Indian regional cuisines to the readers of her blog and share her experiences and knowledge. She has 6 years of experience heading innovation and creation of spice blends and seasonings for retail and institutional use. She developed advertising and marketing strategies at Procter & Gamble India for 2 years. She developed and grown the Pepper Cook blog and social media handle since 2015. Her vision is to create real, homemade, simple food the freshest, cost-effective local ingredients to share these regional recipes, create original photography ideas, and provide the best possible services to the food industry. Anuja recently opened the Pepper Cook Studio in Mumbai, where she will run a not-for-profit cooking and vocational classes for migrant and domestic workers so they can upscale their skills. So with that very impressive biography, I'm so excited to welcome Anuja, the Pepper Cook, to Mole Mama. How are you? Oh, and I forgot to mention, it's 6 a.m. for you, and it's 6 p.m. for me. So thank you for being here.
I'm really excited to be here. I think it's just so wonderful that we can connect across the globe. I mean, we're exactly 12 and a half hours apart. And, to have this friendship of people who are interested and love the same thing, cooking and doing things for other people.
Well, I am, like I said, just so delighted that you are here. So thank you. So can you tell our listeners a little bit more about the Pepper Cook?
Well, the Pepper Cook started because my kids, I have 4 children, and on weekends they were all allowed 3 guests. So every Saturday we would have 16 kids in the house, plus the 2 of us. So I was cooking meals for 18 people every weekend, and some of these kids would come in for breakfast as well. And so in 2015, my kids said, "Mom, you cook so much, why don't you put your pictures on Instagram? And, you'll become famous." So I said, "Great." And they set up my account for me. We picked a name that was related to the family, and they set up all my social media accounts. And the next thing I knew, I was on Instagram. I didn't know that much about social media then, but I learned a lot. When I started out, my youngest son, who does a lot of photography, Jawahar, he helped me do some of the photography, and even he helped me make a video. So that was my sort of Instagram start, which was in May 2015. But then there's another part of the story, Diana, which is not on my blog and which is not really public, which is 2 months later, I found a huge bump on my shoulder. And after we did a lot of investigation, it turned out that I had a tumor on my thyroid. So next thing I know, I'm in the hospital. And generally, these things are just 4% malignant. But as it turned out, it was a malignancy. And I had radiation, and I was stuck at home for 4 months. That's the sort of bad part of the story. The good part was that because I was stuck at home, I just generated this huge amount of creative energy because I didn't want to be down in the dumps, and I didn't want to just waste that time. And I started cooking, and I started writing recipes, and I did photography, and I used those 4 months to create the Pepper Cook blog. And so I guess you could say that the Pepper Cook turned out to be kind of a healing journey. And it also taught me that, you can use creative energy to heal yourself, to make yourself feel better. So that's how the Pepper Cook got started.
Thank you for sharing that very personal experience with us. I think that's such a beautiful thing that you did. You used your illness to create this magical thing, because I look at these photos and I'm like, okay, can I get a spoon? Can I just take a scoop of this? Can I take a scoop of that? Your photos are just fantastic.
Well, it's taken me a while to learn photography. And I think the great thing is, when you learn something new, you build new neural networks, and it excites you about life. And so I learned photography, then I learned how to use Lightroom, and I'm still learning. I'm still learning about Instagram. I'm learning how to monetize. So this has been a complete learning journey for me as well. It's not like I knew any of these things. And I'm 55, so I'm not so young on Instagram, but I have a lot of young followers between, the ages of 18 and 25. So it's been a fun journey too. It's sort of my fun work as opposed to my real work.
Yes, I understand that. That's exactly how Mole Mama is for me too. It's my fun work. But yeah. I have to say that your photos are like magazine perfection. I do. I absolutely love them. And when they come out, I'm always amazed at how beautiful they are. I assumed that you were paying somebody a lot of money to do these for you. So that is very impressive that you are doing these.
Well, and important to, sorry, Diana, but it's important to learn because even if you pay somebody in the end, I mean, you have to know the job before you can get them to do it. And I think it's important to have your own style, which is kind of developed over time.
Well, it is lovely. And I love that your children encouraged you to do Instagram. That's fantastic. And that they set up your account for you. Just
Yes.
wonderful. And that you were cooking for that many people every weekend. You're like the super mom.
So actually, I wanted to call myself the Pepper Girl because I wanted to be that super girl, super mom cape. I had this whole idea of myself, this long cape and this little pepper outfit. But unfortunately, Pepper Girl was taken, so I'm the Pepper Cook.
Well, I love the pepper cook. Pepper girl sounds cute, but I love the pepper cook. And I know for our listeners, you are from India, but if you go to your website, there are recipes from North India, South India, Western India, Eastern India, Sri Lanka, Southeast Asia. You even have some Mexican recipes and Middle Eastern. So you were
take Mexican
everywhere. That's fantastic. So can you share with our listeners how this range of recipes came out of you? How was this developed?
Well, I grew up in Southeast Asia, so my basic palate is Southeast Asian. I mean, I grew up in the Philippines, and yet I love the local food. When I was in the U.S., of course, I started cooking just because food was so bad in the dorms. And most of the food I cooked was the food that my mom cooked because she sent me the recipes. So that's more North Indian food. I came back to India and we were in Kerala for 15 years, where the food is very, very different from the north. It was more rice-based. It was a lot of seafood. It was a lot of food with coconut. And so I tried to cook what I tasted. I don't generally follow a recipe, but I follow a group of ingredients. And because I worked in seasonings and we did a lot of flavors for chips, where, you'll make a Mexican flavor or you'll make a Thai flavor, I learned sort of the base flavors for many, many different kinds of foods, international foods and cuisines. So I experiment more with those combinations of flavors. Like with Mexican, you might have the cumin and the chilies and, oregano. While with Thai food, you'll have the chilies and then you'll have the sweet, salty, spicy combination. So I'm more of an experimental cook, using combination of flavors rather than cookbook cook, And so this range of recipes has really come out just through experimentation. And I'm one of those people who doesn't like to eat the same thing every day. So in our house, we never eat the same thing every day. We eat something new every day. And my husband's from a different region of India, so their cooking is very different. They're from the desert region. So I've learned a little bit of that. I really need to learn a lot more. And I want to put this all together on my blog. So when people are looking for, they want to replicate flavors, but they want flavor without labor. That's really what kids want now, that they can cook it, but it's not so complicated. You're not grinding and mixing and frying and then refrying. You just take the basics and you still get the flavor, but you don't have all the hard work.
Well, that's fantastic. So it's from your experiences of where you've lived.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite regional recipe?
I do, actually. My favorite recipe is a Kerala mango curry. And I love fruit curries, but what I love about the mango curries, and a lot of people tell me when they use it, it's just so easy to make and it tastes so good. You just boil mangoes, you add chilies, salt, and cumin to it. You add some coconut, some yogurt, and then some curry leaves, and you're done. And it's so easy to make because, with fruit, it cooks really fast. And it has its own flavors. You don't really have to give fruit a lot of additional spices to make it taste good. So mango curry is a family favorite. It's a real traditional Kerala dish, and it's in season right now. So we will be eating mango curry soon.
Oh, boy, it sounds delicious. I love mangoes.
Yes, and it's so easy.
And mangoes is something Mexican people eat a lot of too.
You have a very nice spice that's used, a mixed spice that's sprinkled on mangoes and mango bars and things, and I've been looking for it for a long time. I
Is
don't
it
know what it's called.
so? Is it the spicy, salty one?
Yes, with a kind of
Okay. It's
lemony taste to it.
yes, it's tahine.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, Tejin. Tahine.
I'm going to order some tomorrow.
Yeah, you can get it on Amazon.
Oh, I just love it. So, and it's so Indian. We have something called Chaat Masala, which is black salt and cumin and spices and black pepper. And we use that on fruit. And it's very, tahini is so similar in idea to Indian Chaat Masala.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's really great on cucumbers too.
Yes, yes. I think I
And
need two bottles.
yeah, it's really good on cucumbers and it's really good on melon. And if you do, I when I use it on cucumbers, I also use it on tomatoes, but I'll slice them very thinly, place them on a plate, and then I also add a little bit of lime juice in addition to the tahini. So
And what is the base of the tahini? Just out of curiosity.
the tahini is a mix of different chili peppers, I believe, and dried lime and salt, but it's probably stuff that's not so great for us. I would suspect that there's some stuff in there that's not super great, but it tastes amazing.
Yeah,
So
it's amazing.
I actually use it. I make a dry rub for ribs that I make, baby back ribs, and I actually use it as my base in
Oh,
addition to a bunch of other spices.
that's a
Yes.
new piece of information. I'm going to try that.
Yeah, so you can, it's very versatile, I think. And when I do it with ribs, I use it as my base. So it's in brown sugar and then dried chili powder, as well as chipotle chili powder and garlic. But it works really nicely. And whenever people have my ribs, they're like, there is something in here that is familiar, but I can't place it on
Yeah.
my tahini. So
It's just one of those flavor combinations, which is fabulous. I just had it on mango bars in New York on the roadside, and I almost stole it from the guy because it tasted so good, and I just felt like putting more and more on it. But I haven't been able to get it. I'll order it online, I guess.
yep. And also, before I forget, popcorn. It's good on popcorn. So if you ever have popcorn.
There, I learned something new from you.
Well, that's fantastic because, like I said, I have enjoyed your Instagram feed so immensely. So I'm so glad that I can share one little thing with you. Um, so, can you also tell us about, I was looking through your photos and just how gorgeous they are. And you taught yourself, but when was there a point when you were doing your photos and you're like, yes, I'm here. I'm really happy with these now? Did it take you? Did it take you a couple of years?
I'm not happy with them. I know after a while they all look the same. And, I really don't have that much time because I run a full-time business. And what I've done is I built my studio next to my office. They're both in the same space. So in between my mornings and evenings, education consulting when my students are in, I cook and I do photography. So I do everything very, very fast. So I just use what's around me in terms of props, and I find flowers from the garden are pretty much the fastest thing you can use. So a lot of my what I do is more out of convenience than out of real deep planning. I think I have a good color sense because my mom is an artist, and she's a Chinese classical painter. She's not Chinese, but she paints Chinese paintings, so she has this phenomenal color sense. And while I'm not a painter by any stretch of the imagination, I mean, people paint, I cook. I think I got that color sense from her. And I've learned over time how to set things up very quickly so they look nice. I don't think they're outstanding, and I'm not yet happy, but I think I'm growing and I'm learning from other people. In fact, I find other Instagrammers are just a big source of learning. If you contact people, they'll tell you how they do things. They'll give you tips. If you ask them to comment on a picture, they'll comment. Not always nice, but helpful. And I think it's just great that the community is helping.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I'm not there yet. I don't think I am. Which is a good thing. I mean, you have to set high goals for yourself, or you never improve.
Okay. Well, I think they're amazing. So I think you're there, but that's okay. I'm looking forward to what else you're going to come up with. And you talked about it sounds like your delicious mango curry. Do you have any other recipes that you might share with our listeners that's among your favorites?
From my blog, most of them are fruit curries. I really enjoy, in fact, another really easy fruit curry is watermelon curry. You wouldn't think watermelon would curry, but if you throw it into a pot, you don't even have to do anything. You just throw the spices with it, and it cooks in its own juices. And you get this delicious kind of sweet, sour, tangy, almost like a soup, um, which is really nice.
Oh, I have to try that one too. I love watermelon. I didn't know you could make a curry out of it.
And I have a lot of nice prawns. I like cooking seafood and a lot of shrimp and prawns with raw mango and coconut. And the flavor is amazing. That's another one of my favorites. I learned it from a chef in Cochin. I actually try to take cooking classes whenever I travel in the local area. So I went to Cochin recently, and one of the chefs who runs a lot of local restaurants, a really local guy, taught me how they make prawns. And they add Garcinia fruit to it, which is very sour. And then they add raw mango with a peel on, because apparently the peel has a lot of essential oils in it and gives tremendous amount of flavor to the curry. So I would have peeled my mangoes, but apparently you leave the mango peel on, and it really adds flavor. So if you're looking at trying something, that's another curry that's easy and really flavorful. And again, has mangoes in it, which are in season.
Oh, yay. Okay, so now I'm getting very hungry. I did not have time to have dinner before we talked, which was, I think, a huge mistake. But we are going to take a very short break, and we're going to be back in just a few minutes, and we're going to continue our conversation with Anuja, the pepper cook from Mumbai, India.
Okay.
Hola, this is Malay Mama. If you're enjoying our new podcast, you might want to check out my new book, Malay Mama, A Memoir of Love, Cooking, and Loss. Please stay tuned to learn more. My new book, Malay Mama, A Memoir of Love, Cooking, and Loss, is a story of my beautiful mother, Rose. Her family was from Mexico, and she taught me how to make amazing Mexican dishes like enchiladas and Spanish rice and mole and crunchy tacos and guacamole and all different types of salsas. The story focuses on the last 13 months of her life, where she helped me perfect her recipes that had never been written down, while she taste tested from her hospital bed and I cooked for her from the kitchen. It was the last part of our story together, but there is joy in the story. There is love, and I hope that it consoles you, it helps you connect and remember those that you love. Squeeze them a little harder, keep them a little closer. But oh, the stories of food, and there's even recipes. I hope you decide to check out my new book. Go to Amazon.com and search for Malay Mama, A Memoir of Love, Cooking, and Loss. Que Dios te bendiga. May God bless you.
Hello, everyone. We're back. I'm here speaking with Anuja from The Pepper Cook. And while we were on break, we were talking about how similar our culture and some of our food is between Mexico and Mexican food and some of the Indian food. And I just love that. So can you share some of your thoughts about that with our listeners, Anuja? Because it was just lovely what you were just saying to me.
Yeah, so I started following Diana because I love mole. I also feel mole is almost like an Indian curry. It's very rich. It's got multi-texture, multi-flavors, and Indians love things that have a lot of texture, flavor, and spice. So it comes naturally to us, liking Mexican food. My husband Ajay is just a huge fan of Mexican food, and there's so much similarity, not just between flavors, because we also use chilies and cumin, tomatoes, but there's so much similarity in the way we eat because we have family meals and food is such a big part of our culture. So I think it's so easy to connect for Indians with Mexican culture and Mexican food.
And I absolutely agree. I absolutely love Indian food. And I've had the opportunity and just joy of trying lots of different Indian food from people's homes, and it's just amazing. And like you said, so similar to my own with the cumin and the chilies. And I've actually made my mole for some folks from India, and they thought it was very similar to curry, like you said earlier.
I wish you could send me some. Now I'm thinking, I wish I were next door. I would pop into your kitchen and your mole.
Well, if you can make it out to California again, I definitely will make it for you. Absolutely.
Oh, I will definitely come to meet you in California.
Yeah, that would be awesome. And the way that I've made it a couple of times, I haven't posted this on my blog or my YouTube channel ever, but one of the things that I make it with when I want to do a vegetarian version, I make it with sweet potatoes and cauliflower. And it is so good.
Oh, that's a good idea. I make a really nice sweet potato and coconut curry, but that's an idea. I'm going to try that because my husband's vegetarian. So.
And I got the sweet potato idea because of a curry that I had. So that's where I got the idea.
Cool.
I make it vegetarian. And I'm like, ooh, I had some very lovely curry with sweet potatoes. So let me try
that. On your blog, the sweet potato mole?
Pardon me?
Is it on your blog?
No, it is not on my blog. I haven't done it yet. But it's basically my mole sauce, and it's basically my mole, but I use a vegetarian stock. With it, and then I just add in cauliflower and sweet potatoes.
Oh, that sounds good. And do you have like a super easy, idiot-proof mole for people who don't want to work hard and do all the layers of flavor?
I do, and I've never talked about this before on my show, so I'm going to share it with you because you're up early in the morning and literally halfway around the world. But basically what you can do if you want to make mole quickly and make the spicy red mole, is you can make a roux, so flour and oil, and so you're just gonna get that oil very hot, then the flour you're gonna add in, and you're gonna get that very, very brown. So you're just going to brown it till it's almost burnt, because that's what's going to give it that depth of flavor is that flour.
Okay.
So you have roux, very well done. And then I think on Amazon you can buy this powder called California chili powder.
Okay, I have chili powder.
Okay, so all you do with that is it's the red chili powder, and you add it into a little bit of water, and then you pour that into your roux, and with a whisk, you whisk away until it's smooth, until it's the consistency and the thickness that you want it to be.
Okay.
And you add in some powdered garlic, salt, pepper, and cloves.
Okay, I'm going to do this. That's really easy. I mean, that's very, very doable, and there's nothing complicated in it.
No, there's nothing complicated. My mother would call it lazy mole. So, because you're not, starting from scratch with the dried chili peppers and all that kind of thing. But it's very easy, and it's very good.
And so, what do you put chicken in it?
I usually will put shredded chicken in it. And if I do chicken, I boil the chicken in garlic and onions. So I use the stock to turn my roux into more of a gravy type or a curry mixture. And then I also do crunchy pork mole. I do different types of moles, just like curries, but not something else.
You don't add chocolate to your laser mole?
I do not. So there are, I believe, 7 different types of traditional Mexican moles, and they originated in Oaxaca, Mexico. And depending on what region you're from Mexico, your family will traditionally make based on their region. Here's my mole. And so my mom's mole, where her family was from, it's this red, spicy mole.
Okay.
Yeah. So no chocolate. And that is the one with the chocolate is considered the sweet mole.
You really inspired me. I'm going to go try your moles now. That was when I started following you, was for the mole. So I'm going to try them one by one, and I'm going to post them on my Instagram account.
Okay. If you make it, you have to let me know how it turns out. And I have to get inspired to do my lazy mole for my YouTube channel, because I only have my really labor-intensive one in there. So I need to.
And you need a vegetarian one too. I think there's so many vegans and vegetarians now that it'd really be nice to try your sweet potato mole.
Yeah, yeah, I need to add them. You're right. Okay, so back to talking about you. So you talked a little bit about, all these recipes that you've been creating, and how your mother would send you a postcard every month while you were in college so you could learn to cook, which I just think is such a beautiful treasure that she did that for you. Are you working on a cookbook, or have you thought about doing a cookbook?
So I have a friend who's a publisher, and she's been after me for years that I should write a cookbook. So I've done a small ebook, which is ready almost. We're going to put it on my website, which is Easy Asian Salads, just as a sort of trial on working on the pictures. And, you did a cookbook, so you know how hard it is. But I've been working on the pictures and the recipes. So we finished that. And actually, my goal is by next year to do a cookbook for college students and young professionals, because I work with so many of them. And my children also need recipes to cook with. So I'm working on easy Asian cooking for college students. I also mentor a lot of young people who are starting businesses, and they told me, we really use your recipes a lot. So I thought I would simplify some more recipes and then do a whole group of Asian recipes, because there are not so many. There are a lot of college cookbooks, but there aren't so many which are Asian. And Asian food lends itself really well to being gluten-free and vegan. So that's also helpful, I guess, for a lot of people. So yes, I am working on a cookbook.
That is super exciting. I'm so glad to hear that. So I'm like, you should have a cookbook with all the recipes that you have and your photos. That's fantastic. And I think it's lovely that you're really focusing on the young people and encouraging them to cook on their own and learn how to cook. And that's just fantastic. And, one of the things that I love is samosas.
Oh, okay.
So
I have an IGTV video on how to make samosas.
Oh, I need to go find that. So
you can check it out.
I need to find that because I absolutely love them. My husband loves them.
But they're just really empanadas with potato filling.
I know, but they're not. There's so much more than that. So
yeah.
Okay, I have got to find that. And do you have a sauce that's one of your favorite sauces that you use for your potato samosas?
Well, we generally eat chutneys, and a chutney would also be very familiar to you because ours is just coriander or cilantro with green chilies, lime, and a little bit of coconut. And you just grind that together, add salt, and it's very, very yummy. You can even add ginger. So that's my favorite. And I remember when I was in college, when I'd really miss home-cooked food, I'd go buy cilantro, make the chutney, and put it between 2 slices of bread with a lot of butter, and I'd just close my eyes and think of home. So I think the green chutney is just such an Indian thing.
Okay, then that's the one I'm going to make for my samosas, and I'm going to surprise my husband. He's going to be so excited. I use cilantro in a lot of my dishes, a salsa fresca, and then I have another salsa that I make that someday I hope to market that I don't share that recipe, that has a ton of cilantro in it. I really love cilantro.
Yes, that's another common flavor between Mexican food and Indian food. We use cilantro, and we even use the stems in our curry, so I don't waste the stems. I chop them up and I'll throw them into the oil with my garlic and my onions and ginger. And it gives so much flavor to the food, and it's a vegetable, I mean, effectively. That's another way for you to use your cilantro. If you're not.
I use the stems too, as well.
What do you do with the stems?
So I just use the whole thing whenever I make salsa fresca, or if I make my own salsa. I never take the stems off. I put it in my guacamole. I just always use them.
Great.
Yeah, and I also use cilantro quite a bit as a garnish when I make soups.
Okay.
And also on salads and certain seafood dishes. So I don't cook it, I just garnish it and use it raw, and it just gives, oh my gosh, especially if you're doing a seafood soup or a sauce of any kind that has seafood in it, and also like a chicken soup of any kind, also lovely topping.
Yes, we use cilantro as a garnish virtually on everything. In yogurt, we put it in, on top of our lentils. It's just sort of permanently there in Indian food.
Yeah, same here. So, it's your website and blog is just such a treasure. So has there been any big surprises since you started doing this? What's been the biggest surprise, Anuja?
The biggest surprise to me was that people actually followed me, and everywhere I go, I just went for 2 graduations to the U.S. and somebody hugged me and said, I follow you on Instagram. And I'm just so surprised to meet people who actually follow me and they use my recipes. That to me was a surprise. I thought maybe people follow you on Instagram, but they don't really go to your website and use your recipes. The other surprise has been I didn't start this with any commercial purpose in mind. It was more for creative reasons and the reasons I told you. But it's taken a life of its own. So every day we get 2 or 3 emails on our website asking us to collaborate with somebody like you wrote to me, and this is so exciting to be doing this. And we've had a request for collaboration with companies, with individuals, and that's what surprises me, that, without reaching out to people, it's just growing and it's starting to monetize itself in a way. I think the lesson is that if you just sort of put your heart into something, you're authentic, and you focus on excellence, eventually it does make money. And that's what's just really surprised me.
That is really exciting. I know that for me too, having my recipes made by other people and seeing the pictures of something that my mother would make me in someone else's home is just a magical experience. So that's I think so much fun, and it's wonderful that you're being recognized. You're actually being recognized in another country. That's very exciting. And like I said, when I reached out to you to have you on my podcast, I was so excited when you said yes. I was like, yay! So
I would have definitely said yes. I think it's just so nice when people reach out to you, and it's these relationships that really help you grow. It's not just doing something. It's immersing yourself in the industry. It's making friends. It's reaching out to people who are across the world. And, I'm just dying to come to your kitchen and walk across and have a cup of coffee with you,
And I would love that. Absolutely. So have you faced any challenges along the way?
I think when I look back, I've run 5 businesses. When I came back to India, I was actually going to work for Microsoft in the US, and I met my husband. I came back, and I had different dreams for myself. I thought I was going to be the software engineer, making tons of money. But I think the challenge has been that and this is a challenge for most women, is I raised 4 children, but I also wanted intellectual satisfaction and, to be able to work full time. Um, and that was really difficult, even though the kids have left now. And I also wanted to be a mom. I wanted to cook. I wanted to bake cookies. I wanted to be there when they got home and throw birthday parties, which I did. But finding that balance has been difficult. And even now when the kids are gone, now the challenge is balancing having a full-time business and wanting to do all the fun stuff of radio shows with you and, photography and cooking, teaching cooking. So it's really, the challenge is always balance. Getting what you want, but also kind of finding what the priorities are. So that's been one challenge. I think the second challenge has been finding the right team. I really want to teach cooking. I want to do not-for-profit, but it's so hard to find the right people and to build that team. And again, to build those relationships with people. So that's really been a challenge, which I'm trying to sort out now.
I'm so glad that you talked about balance, because I think you're absolutely right. It's so important. And I think as moms and women, it's really hard for us.
Yeah, and we want to do everything. We do want to be mom. We want our cape,
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Because my sons are also in college, and, it's just, I'm like, how did I take care of them? Because I am so busy now. I don't know how I did that too. So
I understand. And I see what you're doing, and you just do so many things. You wear so many hats. You're a podcaster. You're doing radio shows. You're an author, a blogger. I just don't know how you do it all. So I'm really inspired by you.
Oh, thank you. I think that I do a lot, but sometimes I worry that I don't do a lot well. So that's what I'm really trying to focus on. Like, what do I... and I really do love my radio show and podcast. And it was recently that I had this amazing relationship with my mother, and our language of love was cooking together. And I think it was just a few months ago that I was writing a blog post, and it occurred to me that by having a radio show and a podcast, that this huge void when my mother died had in a way been filled by my guest. Because part of my joy with my mother was talking to her about food, always talking about food and what we were going to cook. And so now with my guests, I get to have that very similar experience. So it's just magical for me.
It's really wonderful. And I can feel that. I can feel that while I'm talking to you, that, we're sharing something that we both love. And it's just great to talk to you about it.
Likewise. So I know that it sounds like you've had many businesses in your lifetime, and you're a very successful businesswoman and a chef and an author. What advice do you have for our listeners, for anyone that might be listening that wants to start their own business or has a business that they just started?
Well, I think what I was mentioning earlier, that, sometimes you tend to focus on the money, but really what you need to focus on is being authentic, having integrity, doing a good job, and doing the best job you possibly can. So I always focus on excellence. And I think if you focus on excellence, eventually the money does come. You struggle in the beginning, but eventually it does come. And then the other thing is just realizing that you need people. You need to immerse yourself in the industry. You need friends. I have a lot of, like I said, Instagram friends who give me free advice, because Instagram and social media is a very hard business to be in because it has so many components to it, like you were doing. There's so many different ways you can make money, and then having that focus, but building a team, following your instinct, and then just doing what's authentic to you. Like when I started out, I kept thinking, what do I put on my account? But and my kids actually told me, Mom, just put what you cook. I said, yeah, but I cook so many things. So, I was a little lost when I started out, but slowly I realized there is kind of this body of work or this area that I'm really good at. I'm also very technical because I'm an engineer, so I tend to look at the science of what I do. And then it makes it easier for me to simplify. So just stick to who you are. I mean, I'm not a baker. I'm not going to run a cake and cupcake blog. It's just not me, because I don't like sugar, and baking a lot of effort. It's not a lazy mole kind of thing that you can do. So I've stuck to what I'm good at. I put one cake, a token cake, every 6 months, I think, and it's never really a beautiful or great one. I just did a mango cake. I know I'm stuck on mangoes right now, but being authentic, not focusing so much on the money in the beginning, maybe on costs, yes, but it takes time to generate revenue. It's taken me 3 years, so if you're in a rush, it just doesn't work. And eventually I found in all my businesses, I have made money. It's taken a while, but they've all been profitable because I put my best into them. And, I focused on excellence.
That is really wise advice. And I especially love the piece about being authentic and, focusing on excellence, focusing on, I think you're giving us very, very good advice. So thank you for sharing that with us. And I also believe too that the money will come. It will just come eventually.
I should be taking advice from you because you're the one who's doing so many things.
Yeah, but I also wanted to back up for a minute because you said about your baking. I saw that mango cake and it was gorgeous. It was really pretty.
It tasted really good. It wasn't my recipe, but I didn't mess up on that mango cake where I mixed, how you're supposed to cream the butter and the sugar, and I was really busy. I had 7 hours of appointments, and I just took a break in between because I was saturated. And I beat the eggs and I stuck the sugar to the eggs, and then I tried to put the butter in, so that didn't really work. I'm not intuitive about baking, but hey, the cake tasted good. It looked okay. It was yummy, but it's not something that comes naturally to me. It just doesn't, baking, except bread. I do a lot of bread. That comes naturally. I can do it in my sleep because I understand yeast and carbon dioxide, but cakes are just not my thing.
I'm not a baker either, but bread, I love bread. Okay, so you can come to my kitchen. I'll make the coffee. You can make the bread.
I'll make my cake and the bread.
That would be awesome. That would definitely be awesome. So I can't believe that we only have a few minutes left. Is there anything else that you want to share? Do you want to say hello to anyone that might be listening?
Well, I'd love to say hello to my mom. I don't know if she's listening. And my sister, Amita, who's in the U.S., she's also another great cook. She's one of those perfect cooks, whose food is always perfect. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm a messy cook. I'm not a perfect cook. I'm one of those, what's in my refrigerator, throw it in with spices, and, there'll be splatters everywhere. So I want to say to her, she's listening, and my kids are all in the U.S., so I want to say hi to them. And my husband, Ajay, I hope he's listening, because he's the spice king who's inspired me to go ahead and, work. I started on food with him in his business, and I'm still working on food. So, and I want to say one more thing, that you really have inspired me. I've gone through a lot of your work, Diana, and I really feel that, we should all be trying to do all the things that you do, but what I love most is what you did with your mom, how you put her recipes together. And that's another thing that I'm also trying to do, is put my mom's recipes together. And I made a video with her, which I've not posted yet, because that's really the way our children are going to know how to cook and eat the food that was there, that their grandparents and their mothers made. So thank you for inspiring me.
Oh, you're so welcome. Yeah, it's so lovely to cook with your mom and to, I think, videotape our ancestors so that we have those memories. And for our children, I absolutely agree with you. So thank you for that. And I think it's so fun that you have so many people listening. And I loved what you said about a messy cook versus the perfect cook like your sister. So I know some of those. I would definitely fall in the category of more of a messy cook. And I'll just use whatever's in the refrigerator.
Maybe messy, but we're creative.
We're creative, right? And I also don't bake. I'm not a good baker. So it's because I can't follow directions very well, repeatedly. It just doesn't work for me. So, And I just wanted to say it's just been so incredibly joyful to chat with you and magical. And I'm so excited because now I can say that my podcast is global. So I've had global guests. So
Great.
thank you for that.
Yes, great. Thank you so much for inviting me and for giving me this chance to talk to you. And now I do have to come over for coffee and mango cake to your house.
And mole. We're going to have
your mole. I promise. You will see them on my feed.
Okay, awesome. And I guess before we close, again, thank you for joining us. I hope that after you have your cookbook, maybe we can have you back on and we can talk about that. That would be really fun. So thank you for sharing your amazing recipes with us tonight and your amazing Instagram and your inspiration. And just keep on doing what you're doing because it is fantastic, Anuja. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Diana, for having me on. I really enjoyed it.
You're welcome. So for our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in to Mole Mama Cooking with Love. Please remember to add the most important ingredient to every recipe you make, your love. And as my mama always said to me, as we said our goodbyes, que Dios te bendiga, may God bless you. And many thanks to my fabulous producer, Ade. Soul to Soul with Nancy Newman is up next, so please stay tuned.